Hello, everybody, and welcome to our e-commerce roundtable discussion today. As you hopefully know, since you signed up for this session, we've changed things up a little bit, and our format today is going to be more of an open forum to do our best to answer your questions that you have around e-commerce. And this obviously is timely since right now we've seen a huge uptick in e-commerce as most small businesses are transitioning in some capacity to having an online store due to, of course, the coronavirus situation. And so we know a lot of our customers are doing their best to provide e-commerce solutions to their clients. And as a result of that, we've seen a lot of activity, a lot of engagement, and of course, a lot of questions coming in around it. So we wanted to try to provide this opportunity to all of you to just hop on and speak with a couple of our e-commerce experts and try to get some of your questions answered, get some advice as to how to best move forward during these uncertain times. So thank you everybody for joining us. This session is recorded and the recording will be available afterwards to whomever wants to watch it. Before we jump into any of your questions, I wanted to take a quick moment to introduce myself and the team here at Duda. My name is Ryan Burke, and I'm the Director of Customer Education based in our Boulder, Colorado office. And I am joined by Erik Kosnar, who is on the account management team. Some of you may, in fact, have worked with Erik before. Erik, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hi everyone. Happy to be here. I come from a long background of really knowing the Duda platform and working on our e-commerce platform with a lot of customers. So hopefully I can help answer some questions today.
Thank you, Erik. And we also want to introduce a special guest. We have Scott Varner from Ecwid is on with us. Scott, if I have my information correct, you are the VP of Business Development. And Scott, on pretty short notice, agreed to join us as he is also an e-commerce expert and knows obviously the Ecwid e-com solution very well. And so Scott, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's certainly interesting times for e-commerce, and we're seeing significant demand, and I'm very happy to be here and help answer any questions and make sure you guys are able to serve your customers and get the answers you need.
Great, thank you, Scott. And to that point, this is an open forum to get your questions answered. So I see some questions already coming in. Please do submit your questions into the question panel on GoToWebinar, and we will start to go through those. However, as I was just saying to my colleagues here before we started, we have gotten a lot of FAQs already, and we've been working to put those out on the support site. And so I thought we could start with some of our common questions we're seeing, and we could start to go through those. And then as your live questions are coming in, we will start to pick those up and answer those as well. So that's the plan for this next hour or so that we have together. So please let us know what's on your mind, what we can help you with. And I'm already seeing more and more questions coming in, so that's great. Let's move into our FAQs, and then we'll just take off and running from here. I asked our support team, what are the most common questions you're seeing? And the very first one that they all came to me and said was that PayPal. People are asking about PayPal in relation to our special store offer that we have running right now, which, just to do a quick call out on that, as part of our response to COVID-19, we have made a special e-commerce plan that is free through 2020. And to take advantage of that, you must activate that store, which means add it to your site by the end of April, but we've extended that to the end of May. So you have one more month for any of your clients who want to take advantage of this. You can activate that store. You can add that store to your site by May 31st, and then you're going to have the free store offer through 2020, at which time you'll need to upgrade into one of our paid plans. So this question, this first one here was specific to that. And the answer is PayPal is not does not work. It's not available as part of the special store offer. So you'll need to be using Square or Stripe payment methods with our special offer store. And I think the context of this question, at least one of them that I looked at, was, hey, I have this all set up, but you can't check out. And it ended up being this was the problem. And based on what our support team told us, lots of people have been trying to use PayPal. And so just know that PayPal is not an option for a payment method with our free store. You must be using Square or Stripe. Erik, I'll pass to you for that next question around activating that special store offer.
Yeah, so the special store has actually replaced on most of our plans the base level store, which has become the demo product store recently. So right now, if you add that base free store, you're getting this special offer store with checkout up to 500 products, things like gift cards, and you can always see the full plan for that at duda.co/plan/ecommerce. We did add in all of that functionality on the list there. So
great, thanks, Erik. And then a common question, again pertaining to the special store offer, is what happens after 2020?
Right, and so on that, this is kind of an interesting thing. What we're going to do is we're going to let everybody kind of know ahead of time whose customers are on that, and then you'll have the option either to downgrade to the old free store option or to upgrade to the 100, 2,500 product, what are our basic and advanced and even unlimited store options. So the hope here is that everybody can actually kind of get themselves established with e-commerce on the free store with very little risk. We're in a world now where most customers that we talk to are looking at options to go to e-commerce, but of course it's just always had a cost associated with it. The hope is that by the end of the year you'll have established your business in e-commerce so that paying for it won't be that big of a deal, and you'll just simply transition into one of our paid programs.
Thanks, Erik. And I just saw a question come in related. After this promo, what e-commerce option will the upgrade need to be to cover the features promoted in the one we're currently getting? So I think the question is, what is the equivalent paid plan that has the same features that are included in the special offer plan, if I'm reading that question right?
Yeah, and I've gotten this question a couple of times. Basically, what it's going to come down to is the majority of features with some actual enhancements will be covered with the basic store. Only up to 100 products though. So it really depends on how it's been implemented. If you have a customer with a lot of products, the 2,500 advanced store might be necessary. There's a few extra features in there that might be really handy and useful. But the 100 products in the basic store might cover most people's needs. I would say we'll probably have some documentation on the comparisons on that. And again, duda.co/plan/ecommerce, and you can see what's available on each one, and it's easy to compare and contrast those different things. It just sort of depends on what your customer ends up using.
Great, thanks, Erik. Appreciate that. Let's jump into our next questions. Wrong products displaying in the store. I know that's something we've gotten some questions around, and one of the solutions we've seen is simply remove the navigation of your store, republish, and then revert to that backup that includes the navigation and republish the site. That sounds to me it was more like a glitch that we saw, and I don't think we saw a lot of these tickets coming in, but that was something that has come up. And so kind of one of the basic one-on-one troubleshooting, just revert to your backup, republish, and that should address a lot of those glitches that we've seen. ShipStation, Erik, do you have, or maybe Scott, any more context around ShipStation? I know it's one of the shipping solutions that can be integrated into Duda online stores. And what I've seen is that we discovered version 3, which I think is the newest version, is currently not working, and so the solution here is that you need to make sure you're integrating ShipStation version 2. Do you have anything more to add to that, Erik?
Yeah, actually, Scott might have more answers on that one.
Yeah, it sounds like version 2 seems to be working right now, and I think we're looking into how to make sure we support version 3. But certainly for now, given just the timeframes and everything, make sure you stick with version 2.
And now would actually be a good time to explain maybe our process when it comes to these sorts of integrations. A lot of our customers will go and check out, Ecwid, and they'll see a ton of different kinds of apps and stuff that are available. But it's worth noting that because of the integration that Duda has with Ecwid, we have to go through all of the things. So just because Ecwid has worked on something doesn't mean we've been able to test it thoroughly and stuff. As we do that, we do launch those into the Duda version of the Ecwid platform app store. But anytime you see something that you might be interested in, you can always submit a ticket, as you can with any issues you have with Duda and the e-commerce platform at support.duda.co. Just go in there, submit a ticket, submit a request. We have an entire e-commerce dev team now dedicated to this, and one of the things they're doing is looking at the things that Ecwid makes available and finding out how easily we can make it available on our platform without any kind of conflicts or anything with the Duda platform. That's what we're testing for. So we do work closely with Ecwid on getting that sort of thing up and running. And if there's something you see that you're dying to have, get a ticket in for it, and our support and dev teams will start looking at ways of getting that integrated. No promises, but that's the process and procedure we have for that now.
That's a good point. Thank you, Erik. Related to shipping is another hot topic, and I'm actually in the process of planning another workshop entirely dedicated to talking about shipping and fulfillment specifically. The short answer to this question here is that Ecwid by itself, the Duda e-commerce solution, does not handle or manage shipping or print shipping labels for you. So to the previous question about integrating ShipStation, you do need to install one of those third-party applications from the store control panel. There are some other solutions though, such as using Zapier to set up your store to sync with another third-party solution such as Shippo, which is definitely, I think, a leader in this space. And so Shippo would certainly be able to provide the solutions that you need. Scott, you might be able to speak a little more to maybe some of what you've seen in terms of Ecwid customers using solutions for shipping and labels.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it really depends on the merchant and what their business type is, and certainly what the volume of orders is. We've seen everything from a few merchants, or merchants have a few products and a pretty low volume of orders that will just literally manually just create some labels, to super high volume merchants that connect with ShipStation because they're processing hundreds of orders a day. So I think it's understanding what the expectations are and the needs of the merchant. I think Zapier is another great one for connecting as well, but kind of fitting the solution to what the merchant's needs and expectations are.
That's a really good point. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You really need to tailor the solution towards what your customers, what your clients' specific needs are. Erik, have you gotten any questions around customers not able to check out with the special offer promo store?
I have not. That sounds like it might have been something that's been going to the support team, although I haven't heard too much around that. Yeah, I think we would have to kind of look here is probably from the support team. So
yeah, sorry, I was speaking over you there, Erik, but I think this may commonly be related to the PayPal issues. So if PayPal is the payment method configured, it's not going to work. Your customers will not be able to check out. So again, the solution, at least if you're on the special offer store, is you need to set up your payment method with Stripe or Square.
And so I will actually say on this that I have had a lot of customers that are starting to offer e-commerce for the first time. They're really kind of digging into this. The special offer promo store is an amazing thing that we are offering. It is great value at free. But let me just say that depending on what your customers are doing, if they need PayPal or whatever, it is totally fine to upgrade them. We are going to be in a world where e-commerce is going to be more important for a lot of businesses to stay up and running. We've got some, states in the US reopening, different countries around the world are doing different things. And e-commerce is one of the few things that I've seen coming back online for people. So this is the opportunity to do that. And it's okay to say, oh, you need PayPal. Let's just get you paying for and into the 100 product store. It will solve your problem. That's, these solutions we've had for a while are really good. The 100 product store also offers different payment options than just the Stripe, PayPal, Square. They also allow merchant services. A lot of your businesses already are paying for a merchant service, and they might want to be able to accept credit cards directly. And even in the basic store and the advanced store, you get access to all of those different kind of payment options as well, which could be very important for your customers. So that's why this promo store is a great option to get somebody kind of foot in the door. But if they're already established as a business, it might be worth going into the different kinds of online payment options that the other options will offer.
Yeah, thanks, Erik. And to correct you, you're using the old language, which I don't blame you. You've been around for a while. So we somewhat recently renamed our e-commerce plans. So now we have standard, advanced, unlimited. What Erik was referring to was we used to have the 100, I think 500 and 2500 product store.
Just 100.
I did just add, oh, okay, that's right. I did just Slack to everybody in the question panel. I can put it into the chat, which might be easier to find, the direct link to that plans page that Erik was referring to. So we have a feature matrix there for all of our different e-commerce plans and what's included. So definitely go check that out to see some of those specifics.
Yeah.
We've got any questions about
the standard and the advanced?
Sorry, go ahead.
You have a lot of other options. So
yep.
Really compare with your customers to see what might be right for them, regardless of the pricing. So.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Erik. I was going to jump on to Facebook Pixel. We've gotten a lot of questions about that. And I know that link on our slide is not helpful because you can't click on it, but there is a detailed article in Duda support on how to set that up. Basically, you'll need to get that tracking code and then paste it into the corresponding field to enable the Pixel functionality. We'll put the link to this article from where we've pulled these FAQs into the chat as well. And then you guys can go directly there to look at that information. All right, limiting the number of times the eGood download link can be used. And let me throw in a related live question we just got. I saw it come in a little bit ago that's related to this. Is there a way to have people select an out-of-stock item and send an email to them when it is back in stock? So I guess that's not directly related, but maybe Erik or Scott, you could speak to how you can set limits on the downloaded goods, and then we can talk a little bit about inventory in general.
Yeah, I can take that. We have protection and different options for protecting downloaded links. And so there's 2 ways. You can set a lifetime for the link, so it expires after a period of time, or you can set the number of downloads per link. So you can say that it's only downloadable once, or 3 times, or whatever that looks like. So that's in the settings. I think there's a general category, and under the eGood section, there's ways to configure those limitations.
And regarding the second part of that question, Scott, I'm not aware of any way currently to send an email when something is back in stock. Is that something that is available that you know of?
Yeah, so this is one of those quirky app limitations at the moment. There's an app that does exist. We're working on bringing it to Duda now, so I don't have any specifics on a timeline for that, but it's something we hope to bring to the Duda solution soon.
What about setting a minimum and maximum purchase quantity? And as you guys can well read on the screen here, you can't today set a minimum purchase quantity, but you can set a minimum or maximum order subtotal. So that can be done from settings and then within cart and checkout. There you can set your min or max allowed for the order subtotal. And I guess, Scott, I'm just reading the last part of this answer here. You can add the purchase quantity app in the store control panel. So that looks like an app that we have already added to the Duda integrated version of the Ecwid solution.
Yep, that one's available.
Requesting specific info during checkout. Maybe Erik, you can speak to this.
Yeah, so we do allow you to request specific things. One of the main ones is the business name and if it's a required field or not. The majority of other fields are required. So, obviously address and contact information. Then business name can be set as a field that's on or off and required. And there's a couple of other ones that are required that can be required as well, including notes. So that's for cases where in order to make a purchase or whatever, somebody has to specify something, perhaps something like engraving or something like that. You can have a notes field and make it required so that in order for the order to be submitted, that field has to be filled in.
Great,
also,
thanks,
with
Erik.
noting, you can actually customize the name of that notes field, so you can make it into saying something like engraving details or whatever other kinds of field you need it to be.
Oh, nice. That's a good suggestion. Something else we've seen is your client already has an Ecwid account and they want to integrate it with their Duda store. Erik, what should they do in that situation?
Yeah, we can't actually just straight integrate them. You can't just turn it on and Duda and then put in the store code. They are going to be unique instances. You can add an existing Ecwid store to a Duda website. For that, I would suggest, again, submitting a ticket to support.duda.co. There's some considerations that our support team might need to make to that site to make sure that it works correctly and there's not conflicts with our built-in system, but it is possible.
Awesome, that's good to know. Adding different options to a product in the store. Scott, maybe you can talk a little bit about adding options, maybe some use cases of how you've seen customers using that feature.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of ways to use product options. You can set different variants like colors and sizes with sort of listing like a base product and having those be options. Some examples we've seen is also doing things like adding extras like gift wrapping. If someone wants to upload, like I think the engraving example you used previously is a good one. If there's a product that has an option to be engraved, you can select that product option and there's a different price, and then that's where you would also maybe use that order notes feature to request the information that would go in that engraving. So there's a lot of ways that the product options adds flexibility, but that's under the core kind of add product feature step. So and you can add kind of a range of options, and it can be anything from a drop-down list. You can add radio buttons, a text field, but options is definitely what kind of creates a lot of flexibility in kind of how you build out the product catalog.
Great. And Scott, we have a follow-up question here. Can you speak to the differences between product options and product variations?
It is tricky, and people actually sometimes use it with interchangeably, but really variations allows for a lot more options. So you might say, we almost think of it as like a hierarchy. So you have a base product. Your first option might be like the size, for example. So you have small, medium, and then you might also have a color option of black and blue. But then the variations are sort of it's the combination of the different options together. So you might have only one small black shirt, but you might have 5 small blue shirts. So it gets a little confusing to think it through, but it's really the in a hierarchical tree, it's the core product. It is what are those options, and then the variations are the specific combinations of those options together.
Great. Okay. Thank you. And going back to what Erik was speaking about regarding custom fields and the notes field, we got a question about someone wants to have a questionnaire that should be completed after checkout. Is there a way to prompt them after purchase to complete that questionnaire?
I think you can add questions. I need to think through maybe the specifics of treating it exactly like a questionnaire. I think you can certainly add a prompt and say complete these questions. It won't exactly work necessarily like a survey, but you can require a response and to whatever questions, or to the that someone fills out that field. But again, they might not answer it the way you want to, or something like that. So that's where it could be a little bit tricky. But you can certainly list, and say, hey, please provide, the name of the engraving, the preferred, finish, or something else that you might want to do, beyond what's in sort of a combination, like the options and variations piece. So it might not quite be perfect depending on kind of how complex you're trying to make it, but you can certainly, kind of have a question that shows up in the order field.
Yeah, and perhaps you could put a link to the questionnaire in like the purchase confirmation email that goes out.
Yeah, actually, that's a great suggestion. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, adding that like a link, and then it goes to a proper like questionnaire is probably ideal.
Great. I'm going to move on here. We had that question already. There's a question maybe for you, Scott. Why are invoices and order confirmation emails in a different language?
So they're coming in. I'm gonna have to research this one. Usually, whatever the language of the customer is, when they go to the store, based on their browser, it will show them the proper language, and then they're supposed to be consistent all the way through. If for some reason they're not, we might have to look into that, and maybe there was some sort of change where a customer visited from a different country between when they first accessed it and accessing it later. But again, I think this is probably something I won't be able to answer on the spot, unfortunately, but we can look into it further.
Yeah, and just reading the additional context here, what you're talking about, Scott, yeah, that might be something we need to dig more into. But it looks like another example of when this is happening, and good to understand here how this works. If the customer's browser is in the same language as the store, they're going to receive emails in that language. but the store owner is only going to see the invoices and email confirmations in the language the store dashboard is set to. So that could account for the store owner gets emails in one language, but the customers are getting it in a different language.
Yeah, I see. So yeah, like that. So that echoes the notion that the customer's browser sets the language, and then I think it's a matter of consistency that we want the merchant to see what was sent out to their customer, in whatever language that was, rather than having sort of translating between the merchant and the customer.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're not receiving emails from the store. That needs to be checked. This is the top question here on the slide. You can go to the store control panel, go to settings and mail. And in mail settings, you can change the email address. And we have a link there. If you go search our support portal, you can read more about setting those email notifications. Discounts, let's jump into that one. I know that is a hot topic right now. And maybe I'll just throw that one to Erik to speak a little bit about what he's seeing right now around discounts and maybe any frequent questions you've been fielding on that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. So discount coupons are one of the more powerful things to utilize right now to kind of generate sales and interest. Obviously, they can coincide with a marketing campaign, and sending out coupon codes might be 10% off or free shipping, all sorts of different things. The coupon engine inside the platform is really powerful, and you can dig in and set a lot of different things, including limitations. So 1 coupon per customer. It can have it apply only to specific categories. So it really lets your customer design marketing to get people to the site and make a purchase. Then utilize coupon codes. They could have a permanently running 10% coupon code for a spring sale or a COVID-19 sale on specific things. So I would say diving into that, and we have a link here, but you can always find this information, support.duda.co, and you can see the different ways to configure discount coupons. Now, one of the things about that, I do not know, I don't think it's available in the free promo store right now. So again, that's one of those things that you might want to upgrade to the standard or advanced store to have access to. But that's kind of up to you working with the customer to see how important they feel that is to the business they're going to be trying to conduct.
Great, thanks, Erik. We have seen a few people have questions around, you go to the checkout page and you end up at a different URL. Like, I think it's the default Duda domain, the multiscreensite.com. And that will happen if your site is not secured with HTTPS. And with the auto SSL, it shouldn't be the case unless it's maybe older stores that have not added the encryption yet. But when you go to checkout, it has to go to a secure connection, so that in HTTPS, and you can search for information on how to add SSL or HTTPS in our support portal. And when that is set up securely, then they should be going to the normal URL for checkout. But if it's not secure, they will not go to an insecure URL to handle the checkout, which is a good thing. That was our kind of quick hit of some of the questions we've been seeing. And we have about 25 minutes left. So let's jump into more of your live questions that you've been submitting. And we'll just kind of start to go through these rapid fire, if that sounds good to you, Scott and Erik.
Yeah, let's do it.
Ready.
Ready, set, go. Question about POS, point of sale. Someone's trying to connect point of sale Clover and Square systems, and they are looking for advice on how this works with the Duda store.
Yeah, I can answer that one real quick. That is actually one of the key features to the unlimited plan. POS integration at that level is probably one of the highest end features that we offer. So in those cases where again, these are established businesses. They've already been doing a lot of, sales. They have a fully integrated system that makes integrating their physical POS system with their online store super easy, and in my opinion is totally worth the upgrade money necessary to run that integration.
So to be clear, you need to be on an unlimited plan for POS integrations.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. That answers 2 questions with 1 stone. Good job, Eric. There's a handful of display questions that I want to try to kind of group together here. But before I do that, and Scott, this may be a question for you, unless Eric, you can chime in also. But someone is asking about Apple Pay, if that's going to be added as an option. Scott, do you currently have Apple Pay as an option?
Yeah, someone's quick on the news. So that just came out last week. With it's only available with Stripe. Apple Pay, the way it gets implemented is sort of a per payment method. There's unfortunately not a way to just implement Apple Pay and have it cover all. So we have to do it each time with each payment method. So we've just implemented with Stripe. I believe it will be coming to Duda very, very shortly. So I can confirm that though.
Great, yeah, and we can follow up with that on our side as well. Do you have any idea as far as a time frame for when Apple Pay will be enabled for other payment methods?
I don't. So it's sort of a unique process for each one based on the payment technology.
That makes sense. All right, let me jump into some of these kind of design layout type of questions we have. One person says that their client is requesting a Walmart style grocery store, which means it shows the products and a tally to the right. So I'm envisioning like how many they've added to their cart maybe, and or how many are in stock. Is there a way to do something like that in Ecwid or Duda? And if whoever asked that question wants to clarify at all what exactly they're referring to with the tally on the right, that might help us answer the question as well.
Yeah, I would need to do some research. I have not found a way to do it easily unless Scott has an idea.
Yeah, and maybe I'm missing what they mean by this with the tally and the. In the Walmart distinction.
So more research on that one, maybe.
Yeah, I can if we move on to other questions, I'm gonna just take a look and see if I can spot some way to show quantity in stock and available. I can check that real quick.
You can show how many products are in stock. That's doable if that's the main thing. You can choose whether or not to display inventory.
Yeah, I thought you could. So if you choose to display it, show quantity in stock, they should be able to see what's in their bag versus what's available on the site. And you have full stock control, but you do need to be at one of the higher level paid stores in order to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a more advanced feature, but yeah, you can control inventory stock levels pretty robustly, and you have options of doing things, like hiding out of stock products, or you can keep them displayed, but then they're not, available. There's a quantity field, so if someone wants to select, so it will show, for example, like in stock, 9 available, and then if you want to, when someone adds it to their cart, you can have it be just a single option, or there's a quantity field that someone can add. So there's a lot of options there in terms of displaying, the in stock or not.
Yeah, that's what I recall. If you're attempting to do it and not seeing that, again, submit a ticket through support.duda.co and our team can try to figure that out.
How about the ability to create a multi-store shop, like an Etsy kind of e-commerce? This might be another question we need to get a little more context. It sounds like maybe they're referring to sales, integrating additional sales channels, perhaps?
No, I can answer this, and we get this from time to time where people essentially are looking to create their own marketplace.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely more complex because what you're looking at doing is, if you think when you go to Amazon or Etsy, you can add items to your cart from 5 different vendors, and then you basically have one platform that is processing the payment and then handling the appropriate, distributions to each vendor, and then they also have a way to log in and manage their own inventory. So it's certainly a different type of platform, and it's something that most, it really has to be a purpose-built solution for something like that. We do get businesses that have called more of a multi-location approach to selling. So it's one, like, for example, a restaurant that might have 3 locations. We've seen this implemented a lot, and especially during our COVID times where merchants are trying to get on, or especially restaurants are trying to get online really quickly, and so they'll basically set up a store for each location, and then with the website, have the website allow sort of a picker, either a list or just links, and pick your location, and it will open up that store for that location, and then that synchronizes to each location's inventory. And if, for example, they're using a POS like we talked about before, each one is connected to the appropriate POS system. It's different than the marketplace question, but I just want to make the distinction that you can do multi-location that way, but the sort of multi-vendor marketplace thing is a very different beast in terms of what's required of that, and that's not part of Ecwid or most common e-commerce platforms.
Yeah, that does sound like it can get a bit complicated. Here's 2 more kind of display related questions that I think are related. The first is about, or the question is, can you customize the refine by or the sort area? It bumps up to the title and would be great if people can refine their sort in a cleaner way. So I guess the question is about how that sort area is displayed.
Yeah.
Eric, can you speak to any options around the display there?
Yeah, so that's handled by the widget that we built that basically puts the store on the page and then handles the display and the sorting. And I will say that anyone who's been using e-commerce has probably seen some massive changes and updates to how we've been doing that over the last year. And now that we have that dedicated dev team doing e-commerce things, they're going to be adding a lot of display functionality. There's even talk of using dynamic pages to enhance how things can be worked through and displayed on the Duda side. That team is knee deep in evaluating a lot of different options around this. So there should be some updates coming both to that widget and also just with the platform integration in general to make some of that stuff a little easier and better looking and more configurable.
That'll be great. So stay tuned on that one then, huh? More coming. The related question is about filtering by category. So this person wants to display all products on one page instead of having them broken out by category, but they still want to give customers the option to filter by category. Is that possible today, or might that be a future enhancement?
I believe that's going to be a feature enhancement. I'm not sure, Scott. Ecwid doesn't really support that per se. You can have everything kind of loaded into the main store, but it always kind of breaks down to showing the categories as the next thing. If you use product filtration, though, that can work kind of like that. That's more akin to kind of the Amazon left menu filtering system, which is available again in the advanced store.
Yeah, there's ways that you can filter by category, and it kind of just depends on how Duda implements it. So yeah, and I know you guys are working a lot on making really cool changes to that. So it might not be work available today, but it's certainly something that could be looked at.
Yeah, for sure. Again, that's another thing that we're probably looking into right now. But one thing I will say is in the advanced store, the product filters, again, that it looks a lot like the menu option if you're on an Amazon page, and you can see all of the different things like sort by color and select all blue things, and it will pull all of those into that main screen. It's a very powerful feature, again, in the advanced store. So.
Yeah, I think thanks to Amazon, right? Everyone is has sort of that familiarity with searching with the product filters, and many other websites have that as well today. So we see a lot of that, and you can search, like you said, by category, by price, availability, offers, brands, color, sizes, and even more. So I think that might be a great way to kind of leverage that. You can kind of choose which filters to enable.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I think we've covered most of the questions we've seen. If you still have a question you want answered, we have a few minutes left in this session. So please submit those questions. While we give folks a minute to do so, if they have anything left, I guess I would just be curious to hear from each of you just a little bit more about what you've been seeing during this pandemic in terms of e-commerce and online behavior. If there's just some general observations or trends that you find interesting that you might be able to speak to. Maybe starting with Scott.
Yeah, no, it's certainly been interesting. I think from a consumer level and just kind of sales volume, we're seeing right around like Black Friday levels of people purchasing from our merchants almost every day. So it's clear, obviously, with retail being physical locations being closed, that people are still shopping and buying online, and a lot of that buyer traffic is just moved online. So I think it's a really great opportunity for your merchants to make sure that they're getting online and that their products are accessible. And then and we've obviously seen the trend of merchants getting online and doing so quickly. I think the good news for all of us is even after everything's over and we return to as close to normal as possible, I think this has created an awareness amongst merchants that the online store piece of their business is not just a nice to have, but it's necessary. I think there's always merchants that, of course, they're slammed for time. It's hard to prioritize. It feels like an extra investment. They don't think their business is really an online business. There's all these excuses, we've seen a lot, and kind of feet dragging. I think more than ever, though, after this, people are going to be very much aware that e-commerce is a critical component of their business, both as a ability to increase their sales and as a way to market their business, but even as well as almost like sort of that backup, like, hey, if something happens, I need to make sure I have other ways for my customers to find me other than just walking in my store. So I think long term, it's a really paradigm shift of what's already been happening right over the last 2 decades, but it's just further accelerating both the consumer behavior of buying online as well as the merchant behavior of making sure that they are online.
Yeah, and I'll echo what Scott just said. We're absolutely seeing people that just never thought about e-commerce starting to take an obvious interest in it as an option to stay active during this time if they're shut down, but also just to start offering things in a broader way. So I think from the Duda side, one of the things that I've seen too is, we work with agencies that build sites for other people, and I've been helping a lot of people kind of really just get to a point where they understand e-commerce. And the one piece of advice that I would recommend if you're feeling intimidated about it is there's no part of running an e-commerce store that's not going to be sort of on your customers. They're going to have to manage their inventory, create and add and remove products, manage their payments, and manage their orders through that control panel. So in a lot of ways, one of the big transitions has been giving people access in the white label permissions, the client permissions to the store, and maybe just spending some time going through it with their clients so they feel a little bit more comfortable in there. They may be clients that have never edited their website that you've built for them, and suddenly they're going to need a permission and a login in order to do that. So that we have a lot of articles on our support portal. Our support team can help you with that, because you'll have to almost take on a role of helping them and helping them troubleshoot things and get up and running. And that's one of the things that we've been working on for a while. And thanks to Ryan and his education team for coming up with a lot of really useful content around that. And then you can always contact our support team, support.duda.co, with any questions you have. But just realize that you're going to have to take on a little bit of getting your customers. You're going to be teaching them to fish. Even if you build out the initial store, there's only so many fish you can give them before they're going to have to learn to fish. So.
Yeah, thank you for both of you sharing those perspectives. Really interesting and important stuff to think about. And to kind of the last point Scott was making, I was having this conversation with a coworker the other day that it's really important that you guys not only set up your clients with what they need to be successful right now during the midst of this, but also be in it for the long game. And to Scott's point that, this is our post-COVID-19 behaviors are going to look a little bit different. The new normal, you hear people talk about that a lot. So we should make sure that you're encouraging your clients to do what's going to be best for their business, not just right now, but long term. So, have an eye towards what is needed right now to kind of weather the storm, but also long term, what is this going to look like for you a year from now when buyer behaviors have changed a little bit and the way we do business has changed a little bit. So I just think that's something really important, that you're having those conversations with your clients so that you really set them up to succeed in the long term. There was a question, and I think this is for Erik. Do you know of any examples of stores that have the advanced and unlimited features that we could direct customers to?
We do in our Inspiration Center have a couple of stores, and those are, I believe, both using the advanced store, the two that we have in there, and those features. But primarily, a lot of that would be pretty transparent on the outside, even if you looked at somebody else's store, because unless they have the ability for you to go through checkout and see what like discount coupons look like. Some of the other features in there, and this is worth noting, and you can see these on that plans list again that we've mentioned, involve like ways of pushing your store to your Facebook business page and things like that. So some of it's not always obvious just if you visit a site and see an Ecwid store, the different channels, the different marketing options that they offer, discount coupons, and if you see something and it's got product options, that's going to be higher level than the free store. But yeah, even if we showed it to you, there's not a lot of things that you would see externally necessarily that would be obvious.
Yeah, that you bring up a good point though. If I can jump in on the bringing up like Facebook and Instagram, that's one of the things that we're seeing as one of the biggest upgrade drivers for premium plans is people, want to be on Facebook and Instagram, as well as I think it's a very well justified desire, because we're also seeing that as being a huge driver now of business for customers. So the website is sort of the anchor and the home, and the store is obviously there. And I think driving marketing campaigns and stuff to the website is fantastic, but nowadays customers are so conditioned to seeing brands, following brands that they like on Instagram or Facebook, or having friends share products, that is a huge part of product discovery commerce these days. So I think it's really important, as you're sort of consulting with merchants, is making them understand that that's really an important part of modern e-commerce. And not many platforms have as deeply integrated social commerce capabilities as what's offered with Duda and Ecwid. So it's I think a really cool thing to be able to offer, and it's a very, very worthwhile investment for the merchants to make. It's it's not just sort of a nice to have that may convert, but it's one that we see converting really, really well in terms of driving consumers to products and to checkout.
And the Facebook shop and Instagram shopping features are both available on the free plan that we have running right now. So definitely a must-have for anyone setting up stores in the midst of this. Well, we are just about at time, so I just want to thank you again, Scott, for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and of course, thanks to Erik for sharing his own Duda perspective. And we hope this was helpful and you got your questions answered. And I've been sharing links to things we've mentioned in the chat here, so you can follow up with that. And then, of course, for additional questions, you can go to our support portal, support.duda.co, and we have a whole support team there ready and able to help you with any additional e-commerce questions you have. So with that, we will sign off. Best of luck to everybody, and please stay safe, stay healthy, and we hope to see you soon on future workshops. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.